Hey there! Welcome to SkyGems Academy podcast. At SkyGems Academy, our vision is to build a community of new generation leaders with strong core values, high level of self-awareness, high self-worth, and passionate individuals who will give back to the community and the environment. We are focused on delivering high-quality blended online learning of 21st century life skills delivered and taught online, practiced and perfected offline. Our philosophy is to inspire, educate, and nurture. We work towards inspiring and igniting sparks. We listen, we coach, we fine-tune and accelerate the mastery of 21st century life skills for various age groups. Our blended learning programs are curated from the early years to above 60 years old, as we believe in providing high-quality, lifelong learning for everyone. SkyGems Academy Podcast Series 1: How COVID-19 Transformed the Education Industry. We will take you inside the minds and behind the scenes of 40 exclusive leaders and educators in the education industry. We've interviewed 40 exclusive educators and leaders in the education industry worldwide, starting with China, where the pandemic initially started. You will hear from the leaders in the education industry sharing candidly their views on the possible changes that will take place in the education industry post-COVID-19. Be sure to tune in to SkyGems Academy Podcast Series 1 to listen and learn from the amazing stories, experiences shared, challenges faced, and techniques used by educators in different cities and countries to adapt and overcome their challenges personally as well as professionally in their respective roles in the education industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let's dive into SkyGems Academy Podcast Series 1. Introducing to you our host, Alyssa.
Hey guys, it's Alyssa. Hope everyone is keeping well. SkyGems Academy Podcast is a passion project that my team and I kicked off in early 2020. As we are all facing the unprecedented events and experiences impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, we find that there is an urgent need to unite the global community of educators and leaders to progress forward together. Our main objective is to create a platform for all global leaders and global communities to come together to document these historic moments for our future generations. SkyGems Academy Podcast is a platform for everyone from all around the world to share, listen, learn, communicate, collaborate, and come together to network and help one another to pull through this very challenging period that has impacted the global community. In each episode of SkyGems Academy Podcast Series 1, How COVID-19 Transformed the Education Industry, you will find yourself immersed and engaged in in-depth discussions and thought leadership in various aspects of education, technology, humanity, diversity, disparity, and collaborations in the education space. We are very grateful and sincerely appreciate each and every one of you who has motivated us, encouraged us, contributed in your own very special ways, especially our 40 exclusive guest speakers from all around the world. A big thank you to all and a big shout out to all of you. SkyGems Academy Podcast 29th speaker is Shady Elkassas. Shady is a multiple award-winning and passionate Egyptian educator working in United Arab Emirates. He is a winner of Khalifa Award of Education Excellence and the Middle East Education Influencer Award winner. Since his childhood, he had looked forward to a career in teaching and become a committed educator providing high standards and practices in the education of young people. He believes that the capstone of education is to give every student equal opportunities to learn, and for this reason, a true educator is one who acknowledges, respects, and appreciates students' diverse backgrounds, learning styles, intelligence, and abilities. Following this perspective, He has centered his teaching repertoire around the concept of searching for the best way to meeting students' individual needs. As a school leader, Shady communicated the same message to his team members. He is a STEM advocate and a speaker in the MENA region. He has taken initiatives to adopt project-based learning and inquiry-based learning methodologies to create new foundation of STEM learning in school. He strongly believes that leadership has a strong influence on education. Shady has been selected to be a speaker in 3 international education conferences in the region: GESS Dubai 2016, 2017, and Fatih Educational Summit in Turkey 2016. He was also a GESS Education Award finalist for 2 years, 2016 and 17. For the past few years, he has been associated with Sharjah American International School. With robotics being of particular interest to him, he has led the school robotics team and helped them, winning many awards at international events. He has also been invited to speak at events like TEDx and GESS, Global Educational Supplies and Solution Exhibition. One of the key lessons is being prepared. How to be prepared? This is to acquire knowledge and skills. Do not stop learning. Do not stop exploiting knowledge in different fields. Do not stop scaffolding your knowledge and skills and attributes in many fields. So yes, being prepared is one of the key lessons for the future generations, said Shady. Now I'm pleased to present to you Shady Elkassas.
Today, we have an honor and pleasure to have Mr. Shady Elkassas all the way from Dubai, UAE on the SkyGems podcast episode with us. A very warm welcome to you, Shady. A very good morning to you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Shady. Welcome to the SkyGems podcast episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It is my pleasure actually to join you.
Thank you, Shady. Shady, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to all our listeners? I'm sure they're very excited to hear from you.
Sure. Actually, it is one of the hardest questions is to introduce yourself. So, because I don't know where to start, but actually, well, my name is Shady Elkassas. I am an Egyptian educator. Now this is my 12th year in UAE in the field of teaching. I'm now the assistant principal of innovation in science in Sharjah American International School. And I have a bachelor degree in physics and chemistry, and then postgraduate diploma in organizational behavior. And then I had my master's degree from Walden University, US. You can say that UAE brought a lot of experience and scaffolded my experience as an educator. And for that reason, I had been awarded many awards. One of them was Khalifa Presidency Award for Innovation in Science Education in 2017. I was also nominated to be one of the UAE 10 most influential educators in UAE from Knowledge Review magazine 2019. Also, I have been selected to be the Middle East Education Influencer from Teach Middle East magazine in 2018. I was privileged to receive the UAE UNESCO Schools Network Forum Award in 2018 and the Space Education Leadership Award from the UN office here in UAE. So this is a brief of the awards that I was privileged to win. And if we can say that the input of these awards wasn't for me by any means, it was for my students. So they are the ones that wrote these awards for me. I'm a father of a tiny angel. Her name is Sarah. And she's driving me crazy. A lot of questions and exploration. Yeah, so this is a brief about me. I hope it is enough.
Wow, Shady, thank you so much for sharing all the very amazing achievement and experiences that you have. We are also honored and also privileged to have you on our SkyGems podcast episode for today. It is a real honor. Thank you, Shady. And more importantly, you share with us your beautiful angel, Sarah. We are so happy to have her. And also we hope to meet her one day. Hopefully we can travel to UAE to find you, or you can come to Singapore and we can catch up.
Sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Shady. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Well, Shady, in the lights of the recent pandemic that hit us all so suddenly across the world, COVID-19 has caused a lot of challenges and also at the same time created some opportunities. I'd like to hear from you, and I'm sure the listeners would like to hear from you. How do you feel about the current COVID-19 pandemic situation?
This is a challenging question. the COVID-19 was a surprising phenomenon for everyone because we weren't prepared for such a pandemic, and everyone wasn't prepared. And I mean everyone, I mean in every sector, in industry, in every home, even us as parents, we weren't prepared for such thing. It's a new experience for us. So it started with panicking. Everyone wasn't knowing what should be done, how to protect yourself from this unknown tiny virus, microscopic organisms that we cannot see. So fighting something like that is not easy because it is an unknown fight. You don't see what you're fighting. So we started to panic. We started to change and here I'm going to talk about the education perspective as an educator. We started to think of alternatives of a classroom because three things shouldn't stop under any circumstances. And those three things are the security of any country, and I mean police and army. Medical services shouldn't stop under any circumstances. And most importantly, education. Education is the third sector that shouldn't stop. And that's why we didn't stop our efforts towards education. That's why we had to seek alternatives. And that's why we moved towards the distance learning. And then we faced another challenge, which is, are we prepared for distance learning? Unfortunately, we weren't. And I mean, in hereby, most of educators were not prepared for such challenge because we used to teach in a physical classroom. You used to have this physical connection with your students, but now you don't. The other challenge is to train yourself for new technologies, to prepare materials, to know more about synchronous and asynchronous resources that you need to provide to your students, to assess your students, to involve and engage them in distance learning. And so this was one of the most important challenges that we faced. But however, we cannot say that COVID-19 didn't bring us some good attributes and some good things that we should utilize in the future, because this new experience, this new challenge sharpened our passion towards teaching, sharpened our skills, attributes as educators to learn more effective methodologies. So I believe that everything has pros and cons in life. And I believe that COVID-19 was not that ugly face only that provided people with panic and fear, but also it sharpened our skills and attitudes as teachers towards better education.
Well, thank you for sharing all this that you have just shared with us, Shady. It is all very spot on in terms of your observation and also what you have gone through. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
While you go through all those situations that you were facing, especially specifically in the education space, you mentioned earlier about distance learning, new technology. What are some of the challenges that you faced during this period, and how do you adapt to it?
One of those challenges was training teachers, because most of our teachers are not prepared and well trained in the perspective of distance learning. So sending teachers and students home and then trying to train your teachers via distance learning platforms, this was really challenging. And then the other challenge was to utilize these technologies and tools in order to engage students. So we had many setbacks. The first setback was training teachers. The second one was training students. And then the third one is to involve students and to engage them in meaningful learning. So I believe that these are the main challenges that we face nowadays.
Those are real challenges. And I'm sure there's a lot of us in this space are facing similar kind of challenges, if not the same. What are the changes that you make to adapt, and also how do you overcome those challenges that you face, Shady? I think that would be interesting to all of us to hear from you.
Interesting question. Well, now I believe that we are more prepared, and being more prepared means that you need to scaffold your skills more towards better quality of education. Scenarios now are open. You don't have any specific scenario. Are we going to next academic year, which is 2021? Are we going to go back to the physical school? Is it going to continue as distance learning? Or the third scenario, which is having a blended environment where you can have some students in physical school while others are attending distance learning. So the scenarios are really open, and this means that we need to be more prepared to the future. We don't know, are we going to go back to the physical school? So we need to be prepared for some safety measures, some distancing, some health education, and most importantly, some psychological support, because those kids were isolated for months now. And I believe that this had a very negative impact on their psychology. So I believe that teachers now are having a greater role in education and in students' life. It is not only about knowledge, it's not only about the skills provided by the curriculum, but also the support, the psychological support that should be given to the students, especially after this huge time and this amount of time that they were in isolation and they didn't have any kind of human communications properly. That's why I believe that the role of the teachers is going to be changed and transformed in the future.
Rightfully said, the situation that we all face are really challenging us to embrace things very differently. And as you say correctly, I think change is something that we all sometimes not so comfortable to face. But in this situation, we all have to make changes and adapt to ensure that we are able to continue on. So I'm glad to hear that this is also happening within your space. Thank you for sharing that, Shady. Shady, during this period, with all those challenges and how you adapt and overcome some of those challenges, what are the key lessons that you learned, and would you be able to share with us?
Key lessons. I believe that the whole world should learn some key lessons, and this should be a shared knowledge now, a shared or a common perception now. One is that governments should pay and should invest in health and science more than ever, because now it is evident how health and science is important and how health and science can save lives and can save nations. Second key is the investment in education. Teachers are the capstones of continuing the efforts of education. And I believe that investing in teachers and their education is an essential and critical matter. I need to mention here the great efforts that the UAE government is exerting or doing towards their teachers. And it's really wonderful to see that the whole nation is prepared and giving all the resources to the teachers in order to be prepared for such an emerging issue. So this is wonderful to find that the Ministry of Education here in UAE was giving a lot of trainings, intensive trainings and focused trainings towards synchronous and asynchronous. A lot of universities offered free courses for teachers to prepare teachers for such environment. And this is something that we should learn. Opening resources to teachers. Those are the motors of the education. So you cannot stop such an activity. You cannot, this is a vital activity in a society. So health and education are top priorities. So those are two key lessons that we need to learn. Science, health is really important and critical. Education and investing in teachers' skills and PDs, professional development, is a critical key for success.
You are spot on in these few areas, Shady. I'm so glad you brought this up. These are really key points and key lessons learned. I really must applaud the efforts done by the government of UAE. The Ministry of Education has really done a lot of fantastic support and also ongoing support to the education industry. So congratulations on that. And I hope to hear more from you in the future, how that has developed and how that has helped you and your team and also the education space to progress in UAE. We'd love to have that conversation in the near future.
Sure, it will be my pleasure.
Thank you, Shady. Shady, as we are talking about the education industry and with COVID-19, there are some changes, some transformation that I see taking place. How do you feel about the COVID-19 situation and how did COVID-19 change the education industry? What are your views on that? How would it change the education industry now as well as post-COVID-19? I'd like to hear your views.
Well, I can say that COVID-19 opened another door for teachers and educators, because now we can say that distance learning is something that we can utilize even in physical school. Distance learning can be one of the important tools if planned well, because planning a distance learning session is really, it's not an easy job, especially if you want to engage students and to increase their participation level in a distance learning platform. But if planned well, I believe that distance learning can go along with the physical schooling. And I believe that this was evident before COVID-19, but now I believe that the sector of those educators who are going to invest in such thought, which is distance learning, I believe that it is going to increase exponentially. I believe now that even the schools, they are going to invest in such methodologies, and this would increase the amount of students applying in any institution or any school, because if you are providing both types of education, physical schooling and distance learning school, I believe that this would increase the amount of students applying at an institution. And this is an investment opportunity if planned well, again, because planning distance learning sessions is really challenging. So the paradigm shift of COVID-19, paradigm shift of teachers, that they can be successful in both physical classes and distance learning classes, is one of the outcomes of COVID-19. So educators, teachers, they have this huge shift in their paradigms. Yes, I can do it through distance learning.
Yes,
I can do this without physical classroom. So I believe that this is one of the most important outcomes of COVID-19, this paradigm shift in education.
That's amazing that you bring this up so clearly and precisely about the paradigm shift. And I think that's the first step to any changes or transformation to take place, with a mindset that it can happen, and it has shown the results the most recent months. I believe this is really a tipping point, right, to, as you said, acceleration of technology or blended learning in terms of education in different countries will be exponentially growing.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing this point, which is the technology itself. Those technology providers, that education technology providers now are serving this sector by providing new tools, new technologies and applications that can widen and improve and enhance the quality of distance learning. So it is not only about the teachers and schools, it's also about the technology providers, those education technology providers. And the improvement is really evident. Now we see a lot of online education and applications that engages students in many fields of science, math, and so on. So this is also one of the important outcomes. Thank you for bringing this point.
Oh,
it's really important.
It is, yeah. I think it's all as a community working together to achieve the next phase, and also the transformation that we all need to work together to make it happen in the education space.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to hear that from you. Yeah, thank you. Shady, in terms of new normal, is there a new normal for yourself in COVID-19 as we all go through this very challenging phase? Would there be any new changes in your life as you progress on? Any new things you do or any new normal for yourself?
Well, I believe that this is a very good question, because this tackles the smart planning as an education leader. Because now the perception of curricular planning, preparing teachers to the academic year would be totally different. It had been transformed now. So as an education leader, the perception is totally changed. It's not going to be focusing on only the curriculum planning, the normal PDs, strategies, classroom management PDs, engagement PDs. No, we will expand that, and it should be expanded, because now there are some other factors that we should include in our planning, such as, and this is one of the important points, which is such as the digital literacy, the cyber security, the distance learning well-being, because you don't see those students, and it is really important to educate them and to scaffold their knowledge in other fields that they weren't prepared to. So cybersecurity, digital literacy, online classes well-being, these are other factors that should be added to our teachers' PDs. Another issue is increasing the engagement level and the participation level, because yes, it is easy for me to just display a PowerPoint presentation or a video and explaining the main concepts to students synchronously or asynchronously. The hard job here is how to engage them in a meaningful activity, how to engage those students. Because again, one of the skills is to communicate. One of the skills is to collaborate, the first century skills, the 4 big C's: creativity, collaboration, communication, and critical thinking. How can we provide students with these opportunities in distance learning platform I believe that this is really challenging and it will transform the efforts of the education leaders in the near future.
I'm actually taking a lot of notes as you speak, Shady, as you can tell, I'm scribbling all the way. So thank you for sharing that. And I really like the way you put it, very well thought through and very comprehensive in your thought process. So thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
We are coming to a very important part of the SkyGems podcast episode where we like to hear from you. What would your messages be for the future generations? Shady, over to you.
If I have a message for the future generation, is it's only going to be one message: be prepared to the challenges. The world now is dynamic, and as you could see, and this is really evident for everyone now, that a small tiny disaster, a small tiny virus, well, I won't call it disaster, because again there are a lot of benefits that we got from COVID-19, but I believe that being prepared is the key lesson that we should teach to our future leaders. Being dynamic to change, being prepared for any setback, being prepared for any global challenge. I believe that this is one of the key lessons, because the question, we are going to be asked this question from the next generation. I'm going to be asked this question from my daughter. Dad, were you prepared? Your colleagues were prepared? The school were prepared? And I believe that I'm going to have a lot of discussions and debates in such questions. So one of the key lessons is being prepared. How to be prepared? This is to acquire knowledge and skills. Do not stop learning. Do not stop exploring knowledge in different fields. Do not stop scaffolding your knowledge and skills and attributes in many fields. So yes, being prepared is the key lesson for the future generation.
Thank you, Shady. Thanks for sharing that wonderful message for the future generations. Being prepared, being dynamic to changes, and always be hungry to learn. Keep learning. That I think that's such a beautiful message to the future generations. Thank you so much for sharing, Shady. Really appreciate your time early morning in Dubai today. Thank you so much for joining us at SkyGem Podcast episode for today. Thank you, Shady. I really appreciate you and your time. I look forward to meeting you in person very soon, my friend. You take good care of yourself. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. It is my pleasure being here. And I would like to thank you for bringing this opportunity to share some of the knowledge and experiences on an important podcast. And I believe that SkyGems is doing a great job to bring those educators in, to brainstorm these thoughts in order to have common understanding and a positive debate about the current situation and the future. So thank you very much for your efforts. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shady. The pleasure and honor is all ours. Thank you so much, my friend. You take good care. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode at SkyGems Academy Podcast Series 1 on the topic of how COVID-19 transformed the education industry. If you enjoyed today's episode and you love the vision and mission of SkyGems Academy, can you please help us to convince others to tune in to SkyGems Academy Podcast too? Please kindly subscribe to SkyGems Academy Podcast. Please also kindly leave a quick review and rate SkyGems Academy Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor.fm, Breaker, and various SkyGems Academy's podcast channels. That would mean the world to us, so thank you so much for your support. Visit our website at www.skygemsacademy.com to find out more about our distinguished speakers and about SkyGems Academy. We appreciate you and your continuous support. Thank you for tuning in to SkyGems Academy Podcast. High five and peace out.